We hear a lot about peace, but what does it actually take to build it, especially in a world that feels so divided? Well, today, we're going to look at how one group, a Christian think tank called Transbiblica, is doing just that. They're taking ancient scripture and turning it into a real modern-day blueprint for peace. It's all grounded in a really specific biblical and theological vision. Okay, let's just jump right in with this verse, because it's pretty much the core of this whole mission. Blessed are the peacemakers. Now, for Transbiblica, this isn't just some nice-sounding quote. Nope, it's a direct commission, a call to action. It basically reframes peacemaking from being just a passive wish into an active, blessed identity for anyone who believes. So here's how we're going to break this down. First, we'll look at the divine call for peace. Then, we'll define what that actually means in the real world. After that, we'll get into their three-part strategy, see how it lines up with global goals, and finish up with how you can actually get involved. All right, so first things first, the why. Why is this so important? At the very core of this whole movement is this spiritual imperative, this really deep conviction that peace isn't just a nice idea or an admirable goal. It's an absolute central pillar of the Christian faith. And this vision goes way back. This verse from Isaiah, man, it paints such a vivid picture of what real peace looks like. It's not some abstract, floaty concept, right? It's about tangible stuff. Security, feeling safe in your own home, having communities that are free from all that disturbance and fear. That's the promise that drives the entire goal. And if you look back, you can actually see this golden thread of peace building woven all through Christian history. I mean, it starts with Jesus' super radical call to love your enemies. Then it flows through pioneers like William Carey, who used things like Bible translation to bridge huge divides. And that same thread leads right up to the structured global work that groups like Transbiblica are doing today. Okay, but to turn that historical call into real action, we've got to get specific. We need a clear definition. Like, what do we actually mean when we say peace? Because if we're going to build it, we first have to understand what it is and, what it's not. So check this out. Peace, in this sense, is way more than just a ceasefire. It's the absence of violence, and get this, even the fear of violence. That's huge. And it's a state that doesn't just happen, it has to be actively sustained, by the right attitudes, the right institutions, the right structures, all working together in a society. Right, so if peace is the what, then peace building is the how. And it's all about being proactive, not reactive. It's about digging deep and actually fixing the root causes of conflict, things like injustice and poverty, to build a foundation where violence just doesn't have the same chance to erupt in the first place. Okay, so now that we've got our definitions straight, how does an organization like Transbiblica actually do this work? How do they take these big ideas and make them happen in the real world? Well, they've got a really clear three-part strategy. And what's cool is that their strategy kind of moves from the inside out. It all starts with coaching the next generation. From there, it moves to facilitating and equipping the church as a whole. And then finally, it expands outward by partnering with other agencies to really amplify their impact on a global scale. Let's break that down a bit. So pillar number 1 is all about investing in young leaders. They're focusing on folks between 15 and 29, and they're developing them into what they call transformational disciples. These aren't just leaders who manage the status quo. Oh no. These are people equipped with the skills and the confidence to go out and fundamentally change their communities for the better. All right. The second part of their strategy is, well, it's a pretty bold objective. They want to equip every single Christian leader with practical, hands-on peace-building skills. The whole idea is to take peace from being just a topic for a Sunday sermon and make it a reality on Monday morning. And they're not just talking about it. They do this through really practical, on-the-ground activities. This is not theory, folks. We're talking hands-on training for church leaders, mapping out areas that are sensitive to conflict, and weaving the theme of peace into every single part of church life, from the main sermon all the way to youth group activities. And finally, they know they can't do this alone. That's where the third pillar comes in, strategic collaboration. This is all about partnering with global agencies, joining key networks, and actually showing up to participate in policy discussions. By doing this, they make their voice louder and can contribute their unique, faith-based perspective to that bigger, global conversation about peace. Now, what's really important to see is that this work isn't happening in some kind of bubble. It connects directly with the biggest worldwide efforts to build a better future. It's a fantastic example of how faith-based action can really contribute to shared global objectives. And that alignment is crystal clear. I mean, look at this.
Transbiblica's mission to cultivate peace, it plugs directly into the UN's Sustainable Development Goal 16, which is all about promoting peaceful and inclusive societies. It's really the perfect example of local, faith-based action having a real, measurable global impact.
And this isn't just talk. They've got a super tangible goal to back it all up. Between 2025 and 2030, their target is to coach 1,000 of those transformational young disciples to go out and lead these peace-building efforts all over the world. That's a big, ambitious, and totally measurable vision.
So, where do you fit into all of this? How does this huge vision connect directly to you? This is really where the mission becomes personal. Because the call to be a peacemaker, it's not just for big organizations. It's an invitation for each and every one of us.
This is the big question, right? The one that turns feeling inspired into actually doing something. The call to be a peacemaker is for absolutely everyone. It doesn't matter who you are or where you live. So let's break down some practical steps you can take.
Okay, so as an individual, you have a seriously powerful role to play. It can start simple with just educating yourself, learning what peace building really means. It continues with prayer, with having compassion for people stuck in conflict zones. And then it becomes action, when you support organizations doing this work and use your own voice in your community or online to advocate for peace.
And for churches as a community, you can become these vital hubs for creating those peaceful dwelling places we heard about from Isaiah. And that means being intentional about it. Hosting workshops, dedicating sermons and prayers to peace, empowering your young people to lead their own peace projects, and partnering with other groups in your local community.
When you boil it all down, the journey of a peacemaker is really one of humility, justice, and mercy. So if this vision of active, faith-driven peace is something that resonates with you, well, the invitation is wide open to connect and get involved. We'll just leave you with this final thought. If peace isn't just the absence of conflict, but the active presence of justice and security, what's one small step you could take this week to start building it right where you are?